KSL News starts now.
As soon as we understand the nature of these circumstances, we will transmit that to the public.
Still a lot of questions this morning surrounding an officer-involved shooting in Kearns.
Emergency equipment over here.
Looked around to see what was going on, and I had smoke just billowing out of my clothes and out of my pocket.
Also this morning, even more trouble for Samsung after another fire, but this time there's a twist.
And happening right now, Hurricane Matthew intensifies as it hits the Bahamas overnight and along the southeast coast of the U.S. this morning. It is time to pack up and get out.
The smartest thing to do is board her up and then pray.
This can kill you, and we cannot save you.
In Florida, this could be the biggest evacuation in state history.
Wow. Welcome in on this Thursday morning with Lori Pritchard. I'm Andrew Wittenberg. The storm has already left behind a path of destruction across the Caribbean. At least 25 people have been killed from Hurricane Matthew, many of them in Haiti as it hit earlier this week.
Shara Park is tracking new details from the Breaking News Center this morning. Shara.
Andrew, Lori, we have a live picture here out of Tallahassee, Florida, where Florida's Governor Rick Scott is going to speak to the public in just a few minutes. You can see some of the National Guard stage behind him here. He has been very clear that this is not something to take lightly, and he wants his people to follow the evacuation orders that have been put into place. The U.S. National Hurricane Center in Miami says that Matthew's top sustained winds jumped to 125 miles per hour overnight. That is what is coming towards Florida. And right now, the center is extending hurricane warnings to cover parts of Georgia, and a hurricane watch extends up into the Carolinas. This is a live picture of West Palm Beach. You can see the coast there as some of those waves start to come in. Well, the National Hurricane Center also predicts Matthew will get even stronger over the next day or so. They're forecasting it to become a Category 4 storm as it approaches Florida's Atlantic coast. Matthew has already had devastating impacts in the Caribbean, as Andrew mentioned there. At least 25 dead and a path of destruction that will take years to repair. Now, we will continue to listen in. We'll hear what the governor has to say, bring you an update here very shortly. But in the meantime, let's check in with Grant. And Grant, how strong is this storm at this point?
Yeah, Shara, thanks for that. It is still a Category 3, as you mentioned, 125-mile-an-hour sustained winds. Likely track of Matthew takes it up in this direction. Over the Bahamas now, by this afternoon, could very well become a 4 as it makes landfall or gets very, very close to the Miami Beach coast and also the coast of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Then it's likely to just kind of hug along the coast with more winds and rain. By this time tomorrow morning, could be off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida, or just off of the Georgia coast. Impacts today for southern Florida, where, by the way, we've got a hurricane warning in effect for just about the entire east coast of Florida, the portions of the Georgia coast, and a hurricane watch for the South Carolina coast. Later on today, the wind gusts could go as high as 90 miles an hour, maybe even up to 140 miles an hour. Rain amounts by the end of the day could be between about 6 and 10 inches. And there's also the possibility of tornadoes as well as this whole system moves along. Again, that's going to be later this morning and into the early parts of the afternoon. Right now for us, we got something else to talk about, and that is the coldest morning of the season so far. 39 degrees at the airport. A little wave of some wet weather coming in from the northwest. Could bring a few showers a little later on this morning into the afternoon. We're around 60 here, 56 in Price, more sunshine at the south, 61 in Cedar City, and the 70s in St. George, and the 70s making a comeback here for the Wasatch Front. We will tell you when. That's straight ahead, but let's check the traffic right now.
Good morning. We're off to a nice start so far today. Again, road conditions are dry. Speeds are good here in Davis County. This is in Kaysville. You can see the volume's not too thick yet. Your drive time from Ogden to Salt Lake City, 30 to 35 minutes, which is what you'd expect for this time of day. And here to 215 South Interchange, it's so beautiful to see cars driving in both directions on it again today. And our drive through the Salt Lake Valley, only about 15 minutes from Draper to downtown. And no problems so far in Utah County, unlike the nightmare we had yesterday morning.
Boy, was it a nightmare. Andy, thank you. With Lori Pritchard, I'm Andrew Wittenberg. Another traffic alert for you right now. Be on the lookout for Rocky Mountain power crews along the I-215 West Belt near 2700 South. A dump truck snagged a power line there last night in that area and dragged it across all lanes of the interstate. Crews shut it down overnight to get the debris off the road, but I-215 back open this morning. You'll still see some of the damage along the road, which crews hope to get cleared up this morning. Fortunately, no one was hurt. In local headlines now, now and new today. A crash in North Logan leaves a woman dead, and right now, North Park police are investigating. Investigators say a Dodge truck went through a yellow light at the intersection of 2200 North and Main Street last night. That's when it slammed into a Chevy Sonic that was trying to make a left-hand turn. The impact of the crash killed the passenger in the Sonic. Both drivers were also rushed to the hospital, but are expected to survive. Police are trying to determine if any citations are warranted in the crash.
To Kearns now, where this morning a neighborhood still shaken up after an officer-involved shooting that ended right outside their front doors. Police say it all started with a traffic stop on 6200 South near 5800 West. According to authorities, 3 people were inside the car. One of them was wanted on a felony. That's who police say ran off through a nearby neighborhood, running behind homes, jumping over fences, before he was shot by a unified police officer.
The guy was jumping fences, so if he had gotten as far as my backyard, who knows, what could have happened.
Police did not find any weapons on the man, who is now in serious condition this morning. Authorities still investigating why the officer pulled the trigger. The officer was not wearing a body camera.
New concerns this morning again about a smoking, smoldering Samsung phone. This time after a Galaxy Note 7 replacement model deemed safe by the company reportedly overheated, began pouring smoke on a Southwest Airlines flight just minutes before takeoff at a Kentucky airport. Now, as you remember, Samsung was forced to recall roughly 1 million of its phones last month after several caught fire. Joining us this morning to talk about it, Tracy Potts, live in Washington, D.C. All right, Tracy, this latest incident has a whole different set of red flags for buyers as well as safety for federal officials.
Exactly. The CPSC, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, that issued that recall of 1 million phones, they're now investigating this latest incident because, Andrew, it is concerning if the replacement phone that was supposed to be the fix is now doing the same thing. The owner says he was turning it off before takeoff, put it in his pocket, and then the phone exploded into flames. They saw smoke in the cabin. They ended up having to offload everyone. No one got hurt, but if the fix isn't really a fix, then the CPSC is concerned about this, so they're looking into it. Samsung says they have not yet confirmed if, in fact, this was one of the new phones, and they're working with the fire department there in Louisville to investigate. The other concern, a lot of those phones still out there, still floating around, and still in use. One analytics company did a study. They found what they believe to be 87% of these phones still in use. Samsung has said you can turn them in, get the replacement, which we now know may also have a challenge based on this latest incident, or, as the CPSC recommends, you can get your money back.
Yeah, a lot of concerns with those Galaxy Note 7s. Our thanks to Tracy Potts live in Washington, D.C. Now at 6:07, we turn things over to Grant Wayman with a look at our local forecast here at home.
All right, folks, got to bundle up. Thanks, Andrew, because it is the coldest morning of the season. We've dipped into the 30s at the airport for the first time this season, and other spots are even colder than that. Take a look at the Salt Lake Valley and this range of temperature right now. It's cool no matter where you go. 41 in Murray right now. Southwestern part of the valley, we have dropped into the 30s there as well. Olympus Cove, it's 37. Holidays at 35. Look at Alpine right now. It's dropped below 32. 29 in Alpine. So awfully cool this morning with some sunshine early. Expect some clouds later this morning around the lunch hour, and maybe even a few sprinkles or showers as the temperature kind of hovers around 60 into the early parts of the afternoon. So it's going to warm up a little bit, but more clouds out there. Definitely a sweater or a jacket day with those cold temperatures that we've got going on this morning. But all of a sudden, it's a big warm-up we're expecting just in time for the weekend. We'll tell you when we hit the middle 70s again straight ahead.
All right, thanks, Grant. One Utah woman might bake more than Little Debbie, but it's the cause behind the cupcakes and the cakes that makes this woman deserving of a KSL Today high five.
Let's also check in with Brittany Copeland.
We are taking a bite out of the Halloween spirit this morning. The zombie bite is almost done, which means I'm soon taking a seat in the chair and getting a complete makeover. We're face painting this morning. I'll have a live report coming up.
This, a live look now at Tallahassee, Florida. This is Governor Rick Scott in Florida speaking to residents there. We'll have continued coverage of Hurricane Matthew throughout the morning. Stay with us.